Alrighty, so you've finished writing your tender, you've checked it, it's good to go, and now you've got to compile it and submit it. There's generally two ways to submit it. One is online and the other is through hard copy, and I'll talk to both of those. So if you're submitting it online, it's an advantage because it gives you more time. You don't have to send it off to the printers, and you don't have to jump into a car and hand deliver it. So way better to submit online, but the downside is that they control how it's printed. So what I suggest that you do is you compile it to a single print-ready PDF document. The reason why I say that is because when they download it on their side, they're going to send it to the printer, and you control it then how it goes to the printer. And the reason why they want it online is because they get an electronic version which they can then put straight into their filing system. So it's an advantage to them, but it can be a bit of a disadvantage to you. So definitely compile it to a single print-ready PDF document. At some point, if you're going to keep writing tenders and responding to RFTs, then you're going to need to purchase Acrobat Pro. That's a reasonably good compiler of documents. The reason why I say PDF is because it can't be changed on their side, and it doesn't matter what machine they open it on, it will look the same. Whereas if you send them a Word document may look different each time it opens up on a different machine because of the way that Word has been configured on those machines. You can't control that. Don't worry if you don't have Acrobat Pro. There are plenty of online free tools, and Qt PDF is also a really handy free tool that you can use. Some of your attachments will be PDF, like your insurance certificates, for example. And so if you use Qt PDF, then you can import those PDFs into the master document so that you've got a single document. I hope that's clear. Do leave yourself plenty of time still, even though it's an electronic upload. If you're leaving it with 10 minutes to spare, you're not giving yourself any spare time if anything goes wrong. And remember, even if you're submitting it online, even if you started on the right side of the deadline, the time cutoff, if it finishes uploading on the wrong side of the time cutoff, you are late, and therefore your tender won't be accepted. Because as soon as, say it's 2 p.m, as soon as 2 p.m. hit, if you're submitting to government, then they just stop the process and the software stops working. And so you've wasted all of that time. The other thing is, their site might be down, the internet might be down, the internet may be slow for some reason, you may have technical issues. It doesn't give you time to call them and ask for technical help. So at least 3 hours. If the tender closes at 2 p.m, I like to be uploading by 11. Hard copy. Now, hard copy, it gives you a lot less time because you have to send your document to the printer. They don't always print it straight away, so you go into a queue. It may take them a day or even 2 days to get it back to you. They have to bind it, and then you have to go and pick it up, and then you have to drive it to wherever you're submitting it. So it's a disadvantage from a time perspective. However, you do control how it is printed and presented. So the reason why they ask for hard copy generally is you do all the work. If they've got 6 people in the evaluation team, they've got to print that document 6 times and then bind it or staple it and send it to the evaluation team. Whereas if you control how it's printed, and you do all of that work, you incur the expense as well. But don't go overboard, because this is not a beauty contest. And when they get your tender, it needs to be efficient, because they have to read it from end to end and point score it. So if it appears in this big, cumbersome, fancy folder that's way too big, it won't fit on their desk well, and when they open it, they won't, it'll be a wide presentation. So my recommendation is print back and front. The reason why is because when they open it, they've got more reading real estate, and it's easier to compare one tender to another if you've got 2 pages for them to read at once and not just one. Spiral bind it. Don't ask for really expensive paper. That's not necessary. Again, they don't care. It's not a beauty contest. They're more interested in your words than the appearance. Just spiral bind it, or use those plastic spines, a plastic sheet on the front and cardboard on the back. Even if you're sending it to the printer, compile it to a single print-ready PDF document, because then you don't have to worry about them binding it in the wrong order. I've seen that happen too many times. The other thing I would do before you send it to the printer, and even if you're submitting it online, is I would print the whole thing both in black and white and colour, so that you can see how it will actually look, and you won't get a surprise when you get your $600 print job back from the printer and those images look terrible. The reason why I would print it in black and white is because if they make photocopies of it, or in the online version, if they print it in black and white, which they will, some images don't print so well, and they just look black, too dark to really see any content. So if you print it first, then you can make the necessary adjustments. And do submit the day before if you can, or leave at least 5 hours to spare. Too often I have seen people go to the head office to submit the tender, only to find that they didn't read the instructions properly, and they were supposed to submit it to a branch office somewhere. If the branch office is in the country, you're kind of screwed if you've left half an hour to spare. But if you do it the day before and you get there and you realize you're in the wrong place, at least you can catch a plane or drive to the branch office where you have to submit it. Gives you plenty of time. Once you've submitted it, that's not the end of the roadshow though. You've got a little bit of housekeeping to do and some follow-up. So the first thing you should do is set up your bid library for the next time. So any of the reusable content, like your safety management plans, for example, those insurance certificates, CVs, that kind of thing. Create a separate folder online and store them all in there, so that the next time you go to respond to a tender, you know exactly where those documents are. Don't leave them in the tender folder of the tender that you're working on, because in 3 tenders' time, you may need John's CV and you can't remember which tender it was in, or someone else worked on it and they've put it somewhere else. So put it in a common directory called your bid library, where you put all of the common documents. The other thing I recommend you do is delete all of your drafts and only keep the final submitted version, both the Word version and the PDF, the compiled PDF, so you know exactly what you sent them. I'd also keep the original RFT documents as well in a separate folder, because that's always handy to go back and see what you responded to. I've had several instances where clients have called me and asked me to send them the final submitted version, the version that I sent them and they submitted, because they've lost it and now they're in negotiations and they can't remember how they priced it, or what clauses they agreed to. So make sure that you tidy up, chuck out, delete anything that is not relevant to what you submitted, and only keep the submitted version. If you lose, get feedback. There's a feedback sheet in the course notes if you want to use it. They are obliged to give you feedback, but try and get in front of them. 2 reasons. The first reason is that they get to meet you, and maybe that's the opportunity to start developing an opportunity with them. And secondly, you can see the whites of their eyes and they can't fob you off, because the easiest feedback to give is you are too expensive. So follow the questions in the course notes, because you want to winkle out of them the real reason that you lost, or alternatively, and this is actually way more valuable, what you can do to improve for next time. So that's the whole point of getting feedback, is what do you need to change, what do you need to fix? And if they say, look, you just didn't hit the mark, then you know, and you've got some proper guidance for next time. Most people don't do this, but I would also get feedback if you won, because you can get very valuable marketing information out of them. If they actually picked you, then why? Why did they pick you? What did they like about your tender that was better than anybody else's? There would be 2 or 3 things maybe that really resonated with them. And you need to find out what they were, because then that becomes your unique selling proposition. And you can weave that through all of your marketing information. Well, we've reached the end of the free basic course, and it's been my pleasure putting this course together. Too often folks don't really appreciate how much work is involved in pulling together a compelling bid, especially if you're not already in the box seat with the buyer. So I hope by now you have a clearer idea on what you need to do. I'm putting together a more detailed course with more advanced concepts if you feel you need more information or you'd like to improve your skills. Let me know if you'd like to be part of the initial testing group, because I'm offering the course for $1,200 plus GST if you're in Australia. And I think you'll get every bit of that value back when you win your first bid. But for a small group of testing people, I'm offering it for half that price. And in return for them helping me to be part of the design of the course. So that way you get to shape the content so that you learn the most information in the shortest possible time. So if you'd like to know more, please let me know by clicking on the link in this video and leaving me some feedback. Thank you.